All right, good evening and welcome to the Eastline Board of Education meeting for June 25th, 2018. This is a regularly scheduled meeting. I will call the meeting to order, and for everyone who can rise, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. At this point, the board would be more than glad to hear any comment from the public concerning any matter of the district. Anybody like to address the board at this time? Yes.
Grace DeGroot, fourth grade teacher, vice president of ELTA. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the board for the approval of those last week of half-days.
Yeah.
I don't think that we could have accomplished what we accomplished if we didn't have those half-days. I mean, we tried to pack throughout the year, but you still want to have a nice learning community, so you didn't want to overdo. But I don't know if anyone had a chance to walk through the elementary schools that last week, but the hundreds of boxes that were boxed together, I mean, your classroom teachers were still in there, even with the extra time, well beyond your 4:30s, just trying to get it together, because not only do you have to box, you had to get it ready so that the class could still come in and not feel overwhelmed. So you did half your box in the last hour, was usually cleaning up the mess that you made from boxing up everything. So again, thank you. And again, if you had an opportunity to be there, you saw the amount of collaboration between the classroom teachers, the special ed teachers, the paraprofessionals, the administrators, all pitching in to help each other out. If you were done with one thing, you went somewhere else and you were like, how's your book closet? You need some help with your book closet. So you got an opportunity, if you were there, to see how everybody worked together, because we're all in it together, basically. But I want to say a particular shout out for our custodians, because they are truly amazing and went above and beyond with patience. You're right out there, probably with me. Between the questions, recycling bins, should I save this or does this go in the Connex box? Do you think this will last the move? Should I take it home? They were truly, truly an amazing group of guys. And I particularly talked to James, Butch, Will, and Ben at Lily B. I mean, they just were so, and never, harsh tone or anything. So, again, thank you so much. And we know that the next 2 years will probably be a challenge, but, we work well together and we work well with you, and we appreciate the fact that you gave us that opportunity. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to address the board? Point. Linda?
Hi there, Linda Johansson, president of the ELTA. I just want to thank the board and Jeff also for the meeting today with Brown & Brown, the insurance broker, explaining a little bit about what our insurance situation is. Really appreciated that information. I thought it was a good exchange of information, and look forward to maybe a presentation from the state pretty much coming up soon. But that was good, and I'm glad to hear that there's going to be a quarterly meeting. I appreciate also whichever board member is going to be tasked with going to quarterly meetings about insurance, because of course you need another meeting in your life, but it really will help all of us. So we appreciate it tremendously. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Linda.
Anybody else want to address the board at this time? Anybody else? No? Okay. All right, we have some minutes for approval. It's the minutes from our June 11th meeting, 2018. It was a regularly scheduled meeting. Anybody like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Jane
Second.
and Candace seconds. Any corrections, adjustments to those minutes? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? I think we're all there. Yeah, John was the only one that wasn't present. Okay, special reports. I did see our new high school representative at the gas station today. He was filling up some meat. Yeah, and and I said, so what are you going to do this year? Now, what are you going to do during the summer? And he says he's taking emergency EMT training. He's going to become an EMT, yeah. And then I said, my gosh, and I'm going to wanted to take a little time off, vacation, but he just right, yeah, it doesn't miss a beat. So anyway, but we do have a selectman representative. Mr. Cunningham is here.
Good evening. So let's see, a couple of things. At our last meeting, we did pass a property tax abatement incentive for volunteer firefighters to encourage individuals that are so inclined to participate in the volunteer fire department, and they will get a tax abatement for a little bit of their tax bill. So we're hopeful that that will increase their numbers, a very important aspect of safety in this town and any municipality that has a volunteer department, that we attract good and qualified people to want to take on that dangerous task. So we're hoping that'll help out. I think I may have mentioned the last time that the Smith Harris House was in the process of changing their name, and we did pass the resolution, the motion officially changing their name, and it'll now be known as the Brookside Farm Museum. And they're very hopeful that that will attract more people to come and see this, what was known as the Smith Harris House, now the Brookside Farm Museum. And because it's a museum and known as a museum, it'll allow them to change some of the exhibits. So when someone goes to the house, they'll want to come back maybe in 3 or 4 months and see the next exhibit and things that are brought out and put on display. So I think it was a good move. There was a lot of thought that went into it, and it was unanimously approved. So that's what we did last week.
Good. Excellent. Any questions for Dan? No? No. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. Nice to be here.
We do not have a consent agenda this evening. That brings us into our discussion action items for the evening. The first one that's up is to introduce, I guess, our new East Lyme Public Schools aquatics director. And Jeff, do you want to?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd like to just first thank some of the board members that were part of the ad hoc pool committee, where we had members of the actual pool committee. Yeah, Candace and
Eric.
Candace and Eric, that's right. So thank you to both of them. I think we had some great discussions initially, and then we brought Rob Boucher with us this evening. Into those discussions, worked closely with Mariana, budget development, and bringing this whole envelope underneath the domain of the Board of Education, and continuing a legacy of what Jack Staubach has put in place. And I think Rob is going to do a wonderful job in taking that over and moving it forward for us. So Rob is here. Rob, I just want to introduce you to the board. You want to say a word or two?
Sure. Thank you. So I'd like to thank Mr. Newton and the committee for the opportunity. I'm excited for the opportunity, and I look forward to growing the programs and opportunities through the facility and programs to the community at large. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So.
We're excited. Very excited. We've got a pool committee meeting on July 9th, I think is the next pool committee meeting. So myself and Mariana are going to attend that meeting as well and talk with that group about the financials, some further information. So Rob, thanks for being with us this evening. Appreciate it.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, that'd be great. Do we need a, you want a motion?
Yeah, yes, please, just to authorize me to go into a contract with Rob.
So would anybody like to make the motion to move to authorize the superintendent to enter into a 1-year employment contract with Robert Boucher as East Lyme Public Schools aquatic director for the period of July 1st through 2018 through June 30th of 2019. Candace makes that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jill seconds it.
July 9th. That's a Monday.
Discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Against? Abstained? Passed unanimously. Okay, great, and congratulations, Rob, and best of luck. Get that pool open now.
Rob's got a lot of work this summer, so Rob, don't you have to stay, go home and get some sleep.
Yeah.
You got a lot right now, so you're going to be busy. So we'll see. We'll see soon. Okay?
Welcome aboard.
All right.
The next item is really for the board just to meet our project manager for the elementary alternative project. He's from O&G, and that's Joe Vitro and Joe, and Jeff, you want to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Joe, it's been, we've really hit it off on a wonderful note so far with Joe. He's been on site now, as well as our 3 superintendents across the 3 schools. Joe is in charge. He's running the show for O&G for us now, and he just hit the ground running. So we wanted a chance for the Board of Ed, each of you to meet Joe and put a name with a face. Might be back in front of us for both good and bad things, hopefully all good. But we want to make sure you know when I say Joe Vitro or Tim says Joe Vitro, we'll know who we're talking about. Joe, maybe a quick update just on where we stand, so far with, with the summer upon us now.
Sure. So we really haven't started construction as of yet. We've met with the contractors, we've done the pre-scope reviews, we've done all of that, we've awarded the jobs. We've mobilized our job trailers to each of the 3 schools. Obviously, we've met with the principals and the staff just to coordinate our efforts, and the staff has been doing a phenomenal job, as they were mentioning, with the move out and that sort of thing. So they actually all moved out of the what we call phase 1 areas. And on Wednesday, we start the pre-demo abatement demolition process. We will get done with that, and then go right into abatement and walk through to the school. And the goal being that we're going to have abated the entire floor areas across that school, all 3, by the end of the summer. With the exception of Flanders, we have a classroom wing that we'll take on there. And aside from that, like I said, we've met with all the contractors, gone over schedules, and we're ready to go.
Absolutely.
Can I ask questions?
Yeah, sure, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Jill?
Yes, Joe.
By abate first level, I'm not sure, I thought you were abating the whole building, or am I? it's like-
Phase 1, we're the very first phase, we're abating that, then we'll move on through the school and do the rest of the phases.
Okay, so you're abating one floor at a time.
All during the summer.
Yeah, so we multiple phases over the course of the summer. So he's going to start with that first phase.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to note that you really have hit the ground running. I happen to live right next to Lily B, so I just went by this morning. It is entirely encapsulated with fencing, and they've already started some work, so it's.
Well, that's the only
we're excited.
site work-wise that
Right.
you'll really see visually.
Yeah. But the kids
So
are
the
pretty
rest of the
excited to see
schools
those
will be
diggers.
internal.
Good. Oh, Joe?
Just one other question, this may not seem to mean anything, but do you live within the area, or are you going to be commuting?
Community.
From,
From where? That's a long drive, I bet.
from where?
Canton, Connecticut.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, just check.
It's just part.
O&G is
Part of the
a
job.
Connecticut-based company.
No, I understand, I didn't know if we could get anyone closer, but.
Oh, no, we want to keep Joe.
No, as long as you're happy, I'm happy, but I'm just curious, that's hard. That's hard on a, it's just hard.
Huge project.
Commuted before.
No.
Yes, it is. To some people, it's hard.
He's got a luxurious trailer over at Haynes. Luxurious trailer.
Yay.
Just on a note, though, our town building committee chair, Mr. Ray O'Connor, has offered to house Joe and his.
I have room too. I have like 3 extra bedrooms, so whatever you want. I've got him too.
Yeah, Eric?
Can you just remind me, so for Lily B, what will we see externally by the end of the summer? Like, what's it
Good
going
point.
to?
Site-wise, we're going to take up that, the lawn area, if you will, and
Yep.
reconstruct that parking
Yep.
lot.
So the
You'll have a new
2 roads,
bus loop going in.
Yeah.
We won't have finished that. That doesn't get finished until the late fall. But there will be a bus loop for the drop-off and parent.
Okay.
And we've worked that out as far as that goes.
Okay.
But the middle section will actually still be under construction.
so the 2 roads for Lily B, there's the exit and the other road, I don't remember.
It's kind of towards the
name of it, that
library
goes to the middle-
side.
To the middle school. I don't know if you're familiar enough. I'm just wondering, we're going out of one. Will that be at the end of the summer, or will that be later on?
Later on.
Okay.
He's eager for it. He wants
Yeah.
to see it happen.
Anytime. I'm always around the trailer.
Which trailer, Lily B?
At Lily B, yes. But I'll be obviously in charge of all 3 schools, so I'll be around to all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for
Yep.
coming in.
Excellent. Thank you for
Joe,
coming.
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a nice night.
Yeah.
I just can't get over it. Support you.
Okay. Okay, next item up is a proposed summer 2018 contract with Custom Computer Specialists. Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, we've got a slideshow. Suzanne McLaughlin is here with a representative as part of Custom Computers. We've been working some with Custom Computers since January. They have identified during their work some remediations that are necessary that we've kind of shared through some of our updates to the board. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm going to turn it right over to you, Suzanne, and we'll go through the PowerPoint and talk about some of those issues and what we're going to do this summer to rectify those.
Excellent, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. I am Suzanne McLaughlin. I'm the Vice President and General Manager for Custom Computer Specialists. Quickly, for those of you that do not know us, we're a technology integrator. We've been in business for 40 years, working primarily in the K-12 industry, so we understand the challenges that you go through every day very well. As Jeff had said, we've been working with the IT staff of the district for the past 6 months. And during that period, our team has grown very close to the end users and really start to understand the challenges that are happening out in the schools and at central office. And during that time period, we've heard some very common themes go on, and those are the ones that I want to share with you tonight. So first of all, if you go into one of the schools or even in central office, what you may hear time and time again is that they experience poor performance on the network. So they'll have latency when they're trying to connect to different network services. They may get a dropped connection, okay? Or it may just be slow or no connectivity whatsoever, okay? Another area that they're having challenges with is periodically, you may have a teacher or a student or a staff member that's trying to access a random application and is having problems. It may either be slow, it may not load, it may get dropped in the middle, and that definitely has effect on our overall curriculum and instruction and the experience for everyone involved. The overall experience is very inconsistent. There are times when it's better, and usually it's better when there aren't that many people on the network. But as you have grown over the years, it's become more and more of a challenge. So what we're trying to determine exactly is what's the problem. I'm going to share what that is, and I'm going to let you know what the remediation plan is going to be for the summer. So what's actually causing this issue? Well, what's causing it is that over the years you have grown from a technology perspective, which is wonderful, and we see this in many, many districts out there. The network infrastructure that you have designed right now was designed years ago, and it wasn't designed to support the amount of technology that you have in use in the district and the classrooms today, which again is very common across many of the school districts. If you talk to them, you're going to hear that this is a common problem that they've had to address over the years, okay? One of the other areas is that if you take a look at your wireless network, you have one wireless network that actually spreads across all of your schools. And in that wireless network, you have about 1,800 devices that are registered. So to put this in perspective for those of you that may not be technical, let's suppose you're on the 6 or 7 lane highway, and you're in a traffic jam, and you're trying to get to your destination. And at the end of your destination, there's a traffic cop that's actually guiding the traffic across those 7 lanes. And every single one of those cars around you is beeping their horn. So imagine you're in Manhattan, okay? And for those of you that have been in the middle of Manhattan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So imagine everyone is beeping their horns, and you're trying to hear what the police officer is telling you in what direction to go in, and you can't hear anything. That's what's happening on your wireless network right now. So you've got 1,800 devices out there that are talking and saying to the traffic cop, which is at the high school in the core, here I am, I'm Sue McLaughlin, I'm on your network. If you've got something for me, you need to send it to me over here. And so now all of these 1,800 devices are trying to fight for that time. So that's become a problem. And as you continue to grow and you add more and more devices, you're going to see that this problem is going to become more relevant. In addition to that, if we take a look at the high school definitely has a lot of technology that's deployed. There have been some gap areas in the wireless network there. So for example, if you walk through the school, you may be able to get wireless connectivity right here, but if you go down the hallway, you may not be able to get on there. Now, the team has worked very hard over the past year, the IT team here at East Lyme, to be able to address some of those gap areas. So what they've done is they've added additional wireless access points. But at this point, we really need to take a a step back, do a complete reevaluation, and rebuild the wireless infrastructure that's here to make sure it will support what you need today and your growing needs in the future. And then finally, one other area where you've grown is really in your authentication process. So right now, if any one of your users goes to connect to the network, they get prompted to log in. Okay? The experience that many of them are having is it takes a while. So they log in and they wait and they wait and they wait before they actually get connected. Well, the reason for that is that you've just grown over the years, and you've added technology and added technology, but it really needs to be streamlined, because at this point, there's conflicts in the policies, and it needs to be cleaned up, it needs to be rebuilt, and then everybody should be able to log in the way you would expect them to. So what are we going to do to take care of this problem, okay? Now, just so that you understand, our goal for the end of the summer is to be able to redefine and redesign the network infrastructures that you have in place and provide a technology experience for all of your end users that's going to be consistent, it's going to be fast, and it's going to be reliable. So what they're not experiencing right now, we need to take care of that and make sure things go well. Because the work that needs to be done is going to be impactful, we recommended that we do it over the summer and not during the school year. So if you're wondering, well, if you've worked in the district for 6 months, why are we doing it now? It's because it's going to be impactful. We need to take down the infrastructure in order to redesign and rebuild it. So the focus is to get this work done over the summer, okay, to minimize the user impact. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the overall underlying infrastructure that affects all the schools and central office. We're going to rebuild that, and then we're going to turn our focus to the high school. We're going to start here, and we're going to rebuild the wireless and the network infrastructure here to make sure that it's optimal. From here, we'll move to the middle school, and then we'll move out to the elementary schools to make sure that this gets done before school comes back in session. When the teachers come back, first of all, in August, we will have a team of engineers that are going to be here and actually work very closely with the teachers to make sure their experience is much better than what it was when they left. Also, when the students come back, we'll also have the same team that's going to be here. Although we don't anticipate that there will be any issues with any technology changes, there may be, a snafu here or there, so we want to make sure that you have the support that you need here to address it and move forward. So now if we take a look at what the remediation plan is going to be for the summer, I'm really going to break it down into 4 major categories. And there's actually 28 pages of detail that goes behind this, but I'm going to give you at a high level of what we're going to be looking at. The first thing and most important thing we need to do is address the network redesign. And this is where I had explained that you've actually outgrown, which is wonderful, congratulations. You've outgrown the network that's been in place, and we need to make sure that we can reconfigure that. At the end of this portion of the project, you're going to have smaller networks throughout the district, and we're going to actually change where that traffic cop is from the high school to the edge of each one of the schools. So the only traffic that's going to leave the building is the traffic that needs to go out on the internet. And as a result, many of the end users are going to see a much better performance and faster throughput. That's going to take us approximately 2 weeks to do that portion. Once we get that done, we're going to move on to the wireless. And this is really where people see the effect of what's going on, because you have so many wireless devices, and pretty much everybody is on the wireless network. This is how they know whether or not things are running correctly or not. So this one large wireless network that we talked about with the 1,800 devices, we're going to break that up. And we're going to break that up by building into smaller networks. It's going to reduce the traffic, it's going to reduce the congestion, and it's going to give an overall faster throughput and better experience. And that's going to take us probably about 2 to 3 weeks. And these two portions, the network and the wireless, are really going to overlap, okay, because we're going to come out of the network, and there's a portion that we're going to have to start with the wireless. Once we're done with that, we're then going to go take a look at the server infrastructure. And this is where I talked about the long log-on times. We're going to rebuild that. We're going to consolidate it. We're going to put it down to 2 or 3 servers that you need and do an actual cleanup of that whole entire infrastructure. So when the staff, the teachers, and the students come back, they're not going to experience those long log-on times any longer. And then the last thing that we're going to do is that you've got some 4 servers that are very old legacy servers that has critical data on there for the high schools. We're going to take that data and we're going to migrate it from the old environment to a new server environment that was put in place over the fall. And the reason why it hasn't been migrated before is because of the impact. Because once we start migrating that data, we're going to have to bring those servers down. And during the school year, the teachers, the students, the staff needed access to it. So we really need to do that over the summer. And that's going to take us about a week, and that's the last thing we're going to be doing towards the end of August. Any questions? I know I just threw a lot at you.
Questions? We've talked quite a bit about some of the issues. We've heard it from our staff members as well about the issues. I think Pat has worked diligently on trying. She's been a kind of one person, and we've been, Amy and our team's been very impressed with Custom since they came in, back in the January timeframe, and we need to get this building started up and running where it needs to be running. So, because we can't move forward, we're kind of stuck. Our long-range plan will not move forward without technology in capital.
Yeah, and I would say that these 4 areas are identified because they're truly a barrier to the teaching and learning experience we're offering our students. Our students are aggravated, our staff is aggravated. We just can't start another school year the way that we've been starting it.
Hard.
So I've given my word to staff that I will do everything I can, and I'm working with Custom to almost do a level of shutdown over the summer to support as really addressing the issues, not Band-Aiding them. So,
Very good.
Want to say anything about cost impact?
Well, yeah, we've got a cost associated with this, that's for sure.
Cost is.
Roughly between 83 to 89.
Correct.
Thousand, right? So we're looking at our our technology budget, our CIP, and our technology acquisition plan, which is asked for connectors and switches, was just approved. So we're pulling all that together to see, this is an immediate need and something that we need to address.
Is there an availability of a grant or anything like that that we can look into to help?
So one of the things that I did is instead I'm trying to look for grants for software because I can't move forward with anything with software until this is fixed. So I'm sort of trying to figure out in my budget for next year, is it better to take some of those dollars, put them towards this, and then write the grants for the additional software experience?
Okay.
Because I can't go anywhere with software implementation without this.
Questions? Bill?
It sounds like we're, is our maintenance of this going to be more expensive? And we're having multiple traffic cops instead of one? So are we paying multiple traffic cops?
You're not.
Okay.
You actually have the capability right on the edge. The network was never designed that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to redesign it and push it to the edge, but it's already, the maintenance that you're paying on those switches, you're already paying on those switches.
Okay.
It's not going to be any more.
John?
When was the last time that we made an investment?
Wow. Nickel, 6 or 7 years?
7 years? 7 years ago.
It's old.
So it makes sense. And I'm not a guy that just spent money.
Yeah.
I think it's time, that's for sure. We've heard so many issues from our, our staff, and we need to address it.
Personally, too, when
It's frustrating.
activity is terrible here.
Yeah. And we have rural lawn.
This may, I don't know if it's Pat or both of you, but the log-on situation is partly dependent on how the user profile is set up, right? So if people are logging on to multiple devices, then I know that we've changed the way that the student user profile, is that in the works as well?
That is part of the whole Active Directory component. I just didn't want to dive that deep, but that's excellent. Yes, that's a big portion of it where we need to review each one of the profiles, how they're configured now, and then streamline that process.
What would be great is, as we're going to blink, and it's going to be September.
Yes.
So, but it would be great to have a follow-up on this item in, I don't know,
July?
whatever, mid-September,
to see how things went. And if there's anything, at Jill's point, if there's any issue that pops up that as we approach the start date for Hempel and teachers are coming back in, we should be made aware of that certainly at
We have
our
any
August
meetings in
meeting.
August, do we?
We do.
Oh, yeah.
We do. There's 2 scheduled meetings in August.
Just one in July.
Okay, I just looked at it today.
So, I think this is so important that if for some reason there's something turns up that's like oops, and we should be kept aware of this. So even in July, a couple of weeks from now, we probably should hear just how are things going, because this, like you say, the whole place just stops if this isn't up and running.
Definitely.
Okay.
And it's something we're also going to be addressing with staff, through convocation and at the beginning of the year to let them know, what to expect and the changes as well.
Right.
Okay, so you need you need a motion?
Yes.
So authorize the superintendent to enter into a contract with Custom Computers for the summer of 2018. Would you like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize the superintendent to enter into a contract with Custom Computers for the summer of 2018.
Second.
Eric seconds it. Any other discussion, comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
I'm going to abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry, Barbara abstains. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very concise.
Staff and students, thank you.
We'll hear lots of good news in September. Yay. Great effort. Moving on to our next item is for the proposed extension regarding use of the space at the East Lyme High School by the Planetarium Advisory Committee through June 30th of 2019. And Jeff, do you want
Yes, just a quick recap. We held a meeting 2 weeks ago. That wasn't last week. My mind is a blur from last week. 2 weeks ago, thank you. Our subcommittee, our ad hoc committee for the planetarium, we met with Diane Swan and some of her team members, kind of gave them a new charge in relation to going out and developing a timeline of sorts, and looking at their status on their 501(c) component, and to come back to the board tonight on the 25th to kind of give a rehash of that timeline. I believe you all have a copy of that that was in your board docs, so they can talk through that. And I believe, Diane, you had some other information you just handed me too. So you have a PowerPoint you wanted to show, I believe? Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Your copies? I'll pass them out.
Those are just part of the testimonials that'll come up in just a little bit. So Andy is here, as is members of our committee, who I can't thank enough for their time and efforts. So Diane Swan, 7 North Beechwood Road. As you know, Andy and I came to you on July 17th, 2017, with a plan similar to the slideshow that you're going to see this evening.
Thank you.
A lot of that has not changed, although we have a lot of things that we've accomplished in the meantime, which have been great. And I'd like to, again, thank those members that have taken the time to work with us, some that have actually been able to come to our committee meetings, sit down with us. I mean, we have put in countless hours. What started off as a small group of us meeting once a month became a larger group of us meeting weekly, and we have not deterred from our mission, which is to really get the planetarium back up online without any cost to the taxpayers. So if we can just take a look through the slideshow. So again, taking a look there at the review of the game plan proposal, the only thing that really has changed is, the fact that we have moved to the Let's Explore the Stars to STEM incorporation. We originally had Planetarium Imaginarium, but because of the success of our group and the hard work that our group has put in, we have actually attained our incorporation status. So we are officially a nonprofit. We are working on our tax-exempt nonprofit status at this point. Attorney Marion has been instrumental in assisting us with that, again, pro bono. So we can't thank the number of, again, those hours that people have put in for their own time with their own experience. We did do exactly what we had said. We had said that we were going to meet with the Public Trust We met with members of the Rotary. I spoke with members of the Lions. We didn't actually have an opportunity to meet with them. We're going to follow that up with them later. So there's been a lot of things that have been happened. So if we can go to the next slide, the who we are. So our group is a group of visionaries. We see the planetarium as an imaginarium. It's not a one-dimensional piece of property here at East Lyme High School. We are dreamers. We see the goal, which is our STEM Academy. We think that we can definitely take science, technology, engineering, and math to the next level in the East Lyme community. By using our Stars to STEM incorporation model, we will show you what our vision is. Thinkers. We are totally out-of-the-box thinkers. I think we sit at these meetings some days and we have an agenda. Our agenda kind of goes awry. We come back to the agenda. We're always thinking. We're shooting off emails to one another. We're complimenting this. We're asking questions about that. And like a family, sometimes we don't agree, but we get past that and we move on to the next level. And I think that's what motivates us to show up week after week, regardless of what kind of a day we have, regardless of how we feel in the morning. And as some of us are getting up there in years and we are starting to feel our bones crack a little bit more, and I'm talking for myself, not anybody else on the committee, it's hard. We put in a long day. Sometimes we don't leave there until 8:30. So we do it. We are doers. We have a timeline of accomplishments that you have received. So if you can take a look at that. So, but before we get to that part of it, I just wanted to go back to this slide, because I do attend the Board of Ed meetings, the Board of Finance meetings, the Board of Selectmen meetings. So when we were looking at is exactly what's happening in our community and what our taxes go to, and we look at the fact that the town's educational budget is 66% of what we put in as far as our town to debt services. So again, the Board of Finance has charged us. Why are we here? We are here because we need to come up with a plan to offset the educational costs to the taxpayers of East Lyme. And we've thought of a lot of ways that we can do that. And working with the Board of Education, our Stars to STEM Inc. can establish that partnership to help to offset those costs. So Grant, if you can go to, so we're past that one. So our accomplishments, that is that strategic planning timeline that each of you have received in your Board of Ed packets. Anybody in the audience who wants copies of them, they're going around if you'd like to see that. I'm not going to go through it step by step, but I think it's pretty impressive. Our team, we have worked very, very hard in less than a year to accomplish all of these things on 3 pages. And we haven't given up. We are still a work in progress. We are working towards that next level. We meet tomorrow evening, and we will continue to plug along as far as what our mission is going to be and what our vision is going to be. And whether or not that mission and vision have to change will be determined at the end of this evening. So when you look at the educational value, and those are the handouts that came through to you, there is a letter there from East Lyme High School graduate Jack McDonald. Many of you know Jack because he came to you. He did his WISE project at the East Lyme High School Planetarium. He educated all of the 3rd graders as a senior as far as the planetarium and looking at astronomy. He worked very closely with Mr. Harfiness to be able to do that. And just so everybody is clear, Mr. Harfinist is not an astronomy teacher, but he worked very, very closely with Jack to make that happen, and he received multiple accolades as a result. And Jack, as a student, has decided to pursue a career at Embry-Riddle, and he is going to be an aeronautical engineer. So he's very excited about that. Parent community member Jessica Todd, she has children that are in the school district. She has heard our budget plan. She has worked with us as a member of another community, another community organization in town, and she sees the value in the planetarium. And last but not least, my co-partner in crime there, Marie Fain, who's an educator. She has seen firsthand by taking countless trips to the planetarium to see the value in that. She's also spoken as a parent who has children who've gone through the Ledyard school system as far as what parents are willing to pay for their children to go on field trips, whether it's to the apple orchard, whether it's to the Mashantucket Museum, whether it is to the Gard Arts Theater, it doesn't matter. So you have all of that information there for you to see as far as what we are perceiving as the educational value, but you're hearing firsthand from members of the community, students have gone through East Lyme, and other educators that are part of this. So if we go to the next slide, as I said last year, it's more than just astronomy. That was a quote from Joyce Town. Joyce is actually here this evening, and I'm just going to ask her to talk very briefly, because I know that it's summertime, you guys don't want to stay here, to just really kind of give you a quick little synopsis as far as the fact that the planetarium is just not a one-dimensional astronomy place.
Hi, Diane. Thanks for taking a moment to meet me. I come from a planetarium company in Pennsylvania. I just had a couple of pictures after Diane's pictures here, I think. We had a chance a year or so ago to come over to the planetarium at the high school here with a digital planetarium. What we've been delivering to schools around the country, we're helping schools to change over their early planetariums to modern ones. Our company installed your early planetarium equipment here in 1971. I wasn't there at the time, but in the late 70s, I was at a high school planetarium in Peabody, Massachusetts, and that's where I got my start in my career. And I've been in planetariums ever since, which is a long time. So the digital planetarium that we got to bring here last year is it's multi-curricular. So it's really not just an astronomy system like they were in the old days. A lot of planetariums went in around the country, hundreds of them from our company, because there was a space race going on. There was a challenge that we wanted to keep up with the Russians, and we needed our students to learn astronomy and language arts in order to, be able to achieve that goal. Today, digital planetariums are getting new names like Digital Dome and Imaginarium, and they're being used for STEM teaching and also for the arts. And what I hear about the plan that Diane and her team have here is a multi-purpose room where you could do a lot of kinds of data visualization. On the dome is a beautiful dome in there. So that's, sort of half the battle in having a room like that. Half the expense is the projection dome. There's already one in place. If you've been into that part of the school, you've seen it. And, it can be used for many, many thing. There's Unity software built into the digital planetariums today, so you can do lots of visualization and also make audiovisual shows for meetings and corporate groups. So that's all I wanted to say about that, and thank you very much. Let me know if you have questions now or later.
Thank you for coming.
Very good. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
No.
Sorry.
So now we're looking at pledge of support. So again, other than it just me telling you and coming here and saying, we have a team that are going to support this model, we actually do have a pledge of support. We have private citizens, many of which are here this evening in the audience. We have local businesses. Cross Sound Ferry has signed up this morning and said they will support this initiative, as did Northern Light Gems and a variety of other local businesses within the regional community. Corporate sponsors, I'm pleased to say that we have Harpo Productions who are supporting this initiative as well. So there's a lot going on here, and we are going to make sure that it happens. So if we look to the next slide, where we're looking at Star System Inc. as far as a pledge form, we have put that out. Our marketing and technology specialist has worked to come up with ways where we're asking for people to pledge their support. And you can see based on that slide, there's a number of ways that you can participate in helping Star System Inc. move forward with what our intentions are. And so that leaves us to and we have more forms this evening if anybody wants to sign them. That leaves us to the next slide. I'm going to ask Andy to come on up.
Andy Pappas, 11 Morton Street, Niantic, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk again tonight. We learned quite a bit when we had the ad hoc, we met with the ad hoc committee. Lee, John, Eric, they asked a lot of questions. They got us to think about a lot of things along the way. But the one thing that we took away that was actually unique is there was like a back and forth battle in regards to whether the East Lyme kids would be paying to come to this particular facility as a business model. The one thing we took away was the initial thing we came to this Board of Education for was to preserve the planetarium room as an educational component supported by a business model. But what we got kind of hooked up into was, are we a business? And we kept thinking, okay, well, wait a minute, something's not really right here, because we were being asked questions, and rightfully so, the way we presented everything, is how would your business survive here? How would your business survive there? The answer is, first of all, we need to have that particular facility to start with what we came here for originally for. We have to have an agreement to use that room. Second of all, we need to have a commitment as far as the educational component of the planetarium. In other words, the school system itself, the Board of Education, would endorse us in writing that they back this particular project, providing everything comes through as promised, and they would include that room, the software, the particular programs and everything as part of the curriculum once again. Now, does that cost money? That's the key to the taxpayers again. So Eric had brought up a good point that really stuck home with me, was if we had $22,000 and we had to potentially charge East Lyme as a business model for the kids to come here through the course of a year as one of the school systems to support the business model, would you do it, or would you hire that as a quarter teacher, half teacher along the way? That was a great point. It was a very good point, very well, it was asked and it sunk right in. Then what came back to me was East Lyme kids probably should be going to, not probably, East Lyme kids will go use this facility for nothing, providing it's part of the curriculum of the school. So that was our takeaway on that business model, that instead of spending $22,000 to send kids through a business to come to here, if the school board endorses this as part of the curriculum, then the kids, Salem, East Lyme, would have the right to go through this as the preferred customers along the way. So you're putting the $22,000 into your curriculum as opposed to sending it to a business model. If we were going to start just a business, we wouldn't be here today. I mean, any one of us could be an independent business person. We wouldn't be in front of the Board of Education. So I think along the way, we sort of got lost. We got lost in the part of, yeah, okay, does this business model work? Myself, personally, I look at it a different way. Everyone says you're climbing a mountain. I think in this situation, we're at the top of the mountain, and we're learning how to get down, because we already have a room that's there. You have a committee that's willing to work very hard to equip this room, fix it all up, bring everything back to where it should be with software and everything, and help the curriculum along the way. The business model would support the educational component. The educational component doesn't support the business model, and that's what we kind of got back and forth on. I think that was kind of lost in the transition back and forth when we met with the committees along the way. So the thing that would be very helpful for us would be to get not only get a written commitment for the Board of Education agreeing to hold the planetarium space through 2019. We'd like to have, if possible, a written endorsement from the Board of Education indicating support of the educational curriculum using this facility. In other words, we're going to do all the work. You just got to encompass it into your school system along the way, because we're not going to rent the space out of it as a business. That was never in the plan from the beginning. It was never meant to be a business that's going to make money. And at the same time, you have volunteers here that have the right motive behind this along the way. The last one was a written endorsement from the administration endorsing this particular this project to include educational curriculum in it as well. And the reason we need the administration to endorse it is to get the support of other school systems that would be visiting it along the way. So what's at risk? Well, gain, we just went through the gains. East Lyme kids use this as part of the school curriculum. That's a gain. The equipment, if it fails, you still get a piece of equipment in the middle of a room. You get it all, the facility working along the way. We don't plan on failing. I don't think we've ever thought about failing along the way. And the next part is, there is no really other risk, because what we're doing is we're kind of addressing what the Board of Finance charged the Board of Education to do. Think outside the box how to enhance the educational system of the town without tapping into the taxpayer. Well, you got a ready-made test group right here, ready to go for you. So I think those are the points that we'd like to bring here. We'd like to walk out with 3 things today. Also, some of the grants, and we keep using grants, we didn't put grants in our business model. Our business model was strictly based on a different kind of a business model to go and think, but the grants, by having those endorsements, will certainly help. So if we go to Nassau grant, if we do any additional grants for software or anything, having that endorsement between the Board of Education as well as the administration would be certainly helpful, as well as the commitment for the room. So appreciate your consideration. Hope you think positive about this, and we plan on delivering too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
And so we just have 2 last things. The next slide is just, again, a reminder from where we were last July. It's coming. And it's just about the limitations are self-imposed, imagination is endless. And again, it's time for the East Lyme, having that reputation for starting and completing community projects. The time's now to revitalize the East Lyme High School Planetarium. And last but not least is the quote from John F. Kennedy: "A man may die, nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on. Ideas have endurance without death." Just as you said this evening, that like the Aquanic Center, you want to keep Jack Starbuck's legacy alive, we want to keep Mr. Bloom's legacy alive. Thank you.
You, Diane.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Eric, Lee, John, any comments, perspectives from the meeting that you had?
I think I was really pleased to hear the update on the fact that East Lyme students would, be able to use this facility for free. I think that was one of the big concerns that we shared in that hub committee. So that was a really exciting update for tonight.
Can we just get that clarified? Because I wasn't exactly sure I understood. Can we go back to the 3 asks of today? Sorry. There was the 3 asks.
Yeah, 3 slides ago.
Yeah.
That one.
So I just wanted, because I just didn't understand, so that we, the Board of Ed, would include this in our educational curriculum. Are you saying we're including the 22,000 in our curriculum?
Into your own 22,000 you could have potentially spent in our business model that was would be reinvested in your own curriculum. How this would work is, and I don't want to go as far as saying unlimited, because you still have to support this with an outside entity. So what we do is we would talk and have discussion about class periods, whether it be in the morning, 3 periods in the morning where it would be wide open for kids to come in and use it. Because if we had to use this for another business, facility, the facility self-sustaining, we'd have to be able to have some kind of, and that's part of including your curriculum too. You would have certain periods of the day where you would have access to this. If you brought in, say you had a science teacher of some sort that would take on additional responsibilities, and that additional science teacher would require X amount of extra dollars, might take advantage of that internally and use this facility onward. This way here, if we had an administrator to do all this stuff, a person that would run this, we wouldn't have to bring our person in on a regular basis and just kind of guess what your curriculum is. So you have the opportunity to use this, in different periods, whatever you'd like to do, as long as it's something that's organized.
Candace?
Okay. So first, I support the initiative. I think that it's great, and I definitely see the potential in it. You don't have to sell me on it. I see it. I see the regional reach. I see the community benefit. That's not an issue for me. I don't have an issue holding the space for another year. I have no problem with that, although I do have suggestions for you this year for some things to do. The third thing, that the only challenge that I have is that when you came and you presented your budget, I listened to a fee of $22,000. And to me, that was unexpected. Now, that could have been my naiveness, okay? I don't expect to pay a fee for our students to utilize a room that was designed for them, that was brought for them, that is meant for them to be used in an academic fashion. It's hard for me, it's perplexing to me. I understand that you're coming forward with a nonprofit status. So essentially, I am viewing you as a business. I do. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But any nonprofit that utilizes anything within our schools pays a fee. East Lyme Regional Theater pays a fee when they use the space. The Chinese school pays a fee, and the list goes on. So I do see that component, okay? And when you had come, talked and stated that it's negotiable, it is negotiable. It needs to be negotiable. So when I listen to now, it's different, and it's being projected differently, okay? So again, I'm all in favor of the initiative, and I can cheerlead for it, I can support it here, I can support it in the community, my kids have their shirts, we're ready to go when we have the opportunity to actually fundraise and do that. We can do that. I am not in favor of a fee. Now, when you just spoke, it was confusing to me because Lee took it as happy that we're not going to pay a fee. I heard it that we're still going to pay a fee, just in a different fashion.
Yeah, I didn't get that piece.
So that's what I want to, I know, I know that this can be worked out, okay? Anytime there's a goal and there are many people at the table that want it, you can negotiate, you can compromise, and you can work it out. So I think that the committee will do some work, and that's up for negotiation. But I wanted to be very clear tonight that I have no support for paying $22,000 for our students to
We heard that
utilize.
loud and clear.
Okay.
That's exactly one thing.
All right.
And one thing I want to mention, too,
Andy, could you maybe just come up to the podium just so you're dressed? Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
One thing I wanted to make clear, too, is we were concerned because the East Lyme students would be entitled for sure to be using this facility for nothing. However, you can also get pushback from the East Lyme citizens that say, we are taxpayers, we should be using this facility for nothing as well. So part of including this in the curriculum is to separate that between all the citizens of the town. Now, not to say we wouldn't have open houses or things where we can encourage for the town, but we had to kind of separate that because then the business model, which it's a one-of-a-kind business model. It's never been kind of used this way. That one business model would have been separated where the East Lyme people would say, well, I pay taxes. I don't want to, if the kids aren't paying, I'm not going to pay either. Well, we're not here to make a profit. We're here to make it sustainable and also reinvest the money that would be made from this into software for the educational curriculum, which is what the missing part was here. We weren't coming here as operating a business. I mean, none of us want to make a profit. There's nobody being paid for this, anything else like that. But at the same time, having a regional facility like this, and the gal that just talked to you about that having a dome as an asset, I mean, that's one of those things that kind of drop down. It's already here for you. And then you got the committee willing to fundraise. But the $22,000, you can't look at it. Eric opened up my eyes based on if I had to pay for a teacher or pay for this, what would I do?
Excuse me.
I was right there with him. I'd pay for the teacher. Sure. But we're going to pay for the teacher. You utilize that teacher to help teach this during the school hours, the curriculum that would come up. Now, what is the curriculum? Well, that's part of working with everybody here to see how that would work.
And when you say it that way, it's more absorbable for me, right? And I'm so there to have the conversation and to get where we need to be. I'm with you, but I just wanted to be, because when I heard it, I was like, well, hold on a second. You know, when we have a pool, okay, the kids at the high school utilize the pool, part of their curriculum. They don't pay. They go and they utilize it. It's part of their gym class. The Flanders students, they've utilized it, not in an everyday fashion, but they do use it, okay? Yet and still, okay, if I want to buy a membership, I do.
You know what I'm saying? There's a membership fee, but yes, it's housed here, and the kids utilize it. So, and there's no fee. There's no fee. We've never paid a fee.
And if I could just clarify real quick, because that's exactly the model that we looked at. When we first went to this plan, I was at the central office and I pulled the pool model. And that was what the basis of this, the whole premise of this when we got off the ground was. The reason why the fee came up was, all right, if we have to run it as a business, the business model put in a fee to charge everybody. You know, and again, there was a lot of dissension about that amongst the committee members. And as a taxpayer in town, as a parent in town, I don't want to pay a fee for my kid to go to the planetarium because I already paid for the planetarium and it's like double taxation.
Exactly.
So in looking at that, but again, in the supplemental positions, and I haven't been able to find it in the last 6 contracts that I just went through, there was a director of the planetarium. So we paid a stipend to a director of the planetarium who oversaw.
You made back when it first.
Even after Mr. Bloom. Mr. Bloom had it, then Mr. Meyer had it, then Stephanie Mickle had it, and then when in 2013, when the renovation went through with the planetarium coming essentially offline, and they were just using the iPads to do the Stellaris program on the dome, I don't really know what happened to that stipend position. I've been trying to track that down. But I do see, you know, again, the pool has their, you know, the budget as far as the revenues and all those different things, and then what they have to pay. They have a contract. You contract a service, which is who that gentleman, I guess his contract, does he get paid through the Board of Ed or that company?
That's
So-
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so again, I know this is not for discussion, but I'm trying to tease all of that out as we work through this. We've been pulling all of that information. So really trying to set it up as a similar model. And again, when I talked to, I think, Mr. Hargis, and he sent me an email back stating that the pool is not open to the public during these times because it's used for academic purposes, and it's part of the educational curriculum. So we see that, and that's the same model that we would like to move to with the planetarium.
A quick question. So with the 22,000, let's just use that as an example. So if, you know, the East Lyme students are not charged a fee, you're saying that that 22,000 would be embedded into our curriculum, but then are you saying now we're going to be going out and the district will now pay for software associated with planetarium?
No, absolutely
Because you
not.
mentioned software earlier, Andy, when you spoke.
None of that. Actually, the best way to look at this...
So there's curricular costs associated, or there might be curricular costs associated with it?
I think it's like in kind.
Yeah, that would be exactly. The way to look at this is an educational facility component supported by a business model. This is not a business model that is asking the educational people to just support it outright. That's where we kind of got lost along the way here, because we came here initially for the educational component. That's why we're talking to everybody here today. And so think of it that way. You come up with the curriculum, however you want to do it. We want you to use it. We want you to have the students benefit. But we were charged ourselves to have a business model to support that facility being used. It wasn't the other way around. And that's where we kind of got lost and got deep down into numbers saying, well, will this business model survive? If we were going to run a business, we wouldn't be here today. I'd be going to SCORE. I'd be going somewhere else to ask for some suggestions along the way. Although I got to tell you, we got great information from everybody here. I mean, that, you know, when Eric and John and Lee came in there, we learned. I wrote stuff down. It's probably the most I ever listened as opposed to talking, and that's a rarity. That's a rarity, you know. But I did learn, you know, but it also sunk in that, okay, we're missing something somewhere along the way. Somehow that communication got separated.
Andy, I really appreciate the little speech you gave, and I think it's you guys have moved in a direction that, from my understanding, from when you had your ad hoc committee, you've been very responsive, and the timeline that you have is very responsive as well. I certainly, from my vantage point, I certainly would support continuing to hold the space and make it available for you for this next year. Okay, I don't have any problems with that. I don't believe that there's any hardship, a significant hardship that's created by doing that.
Oh, we can do that.
The other 2 points, I think that needs a lot of further discussion. I think it's a neat twist the way you kind of presented it, but I think we're gonna have to think about that quite a bit more. While it's a fantastic part of, it could be a fantastic part of a curriculum, it's a resource that we have, I have to hear from a million people in terms of what that means in terms of curriculum. How does it fit with our vision for the future and going forward? If you commit to having it as part of the curriculum, that means you have to have a staff. And is that?
That's what we thought of.
That's, yes, and that's, I think I got the gist of it, but I think those two, the last 2 points, I think that needs further deliberations and
Those other 2
thinking.
points are very key to moving forward to get commitments from outside people. Because if we come to people as a business, there's no urgency.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
If we're coming to it with a written endorsement, and keep in mind, part 2 of that should say, providing we do what we are going to say. We have to bring you a projector. We have to facilitate the room. We have to bring everything there.
Okay. So anyways, I got my speech in a little bit. I saw Barbara had her hand up.
I think John had his hand up first and then me.
Okay, so that, and then back to Candace. Okay, so John?
So we had a really vibrant conversation, I would say, in terms of the ad hoc committee, and I really appreciate all the work you guys have done, and especially this twist of a model. I really like this. But I think talking to Amy and Jeff directly and figuring out what their conceptual idea is in terms of curriculum, because obviously they're the folks that we hired to design the curriculum and things like that. So that's really, really important, because realistically, when you talk about the pool model, you're talking about, gym teachers bringing students in that are part of other costs that maintain other things. So is there something within the science department right now or other departments within the school where it doesn't require adding additional staff or whatever it may be? Because Lee and I were talking, we both took the class when we were in school, right? So, but there was some type of fee there, there was some type of added staff there that no longer exists right now. So what does that look like? So I'm all 4.1, and I told you guys that if you came back, I'd be all 4.1, check it out. And I'm really close to being 4.2. It's just going to come down to, no offense, Jeff, but really Amy, in terms of what her thought process is on curriculum and how that looks. So I don't know if anyone wants to chime in now.
I can just interject
whatever.
before she does. I'm very excited because I serve on a lot of the curriculum committees. I'll be seeing her tomorrow for 3 hours or 2 hours. So I do that for the science. I'm also doing it for the social studies. So I've done it for years. I mean, I've been in the district now for 23 years, but been served on a number of committees. So I see the educational curriculum. I know exactly where we can plug that in. I know exactly which life science skills, which earth science skills that we currently have to address because we're in phase 2 of rolling out the NGSS for the district.
Right.
And as a result, we have curriculum connections right there that we can plug in. And to make the pot even sweeter is the fact that we have high school students that we can utilize to be able to teach some of these models and classes. When elementary teachers go there, you have a certified teacher that's bringing their class there. Parents are paying for the field trip if they're paying for the bus, if we don't find a grant for it, but we're working on grants, and I've already talked to Teresa at the bus company. She'd give us a discount. So all of that has already been, we've looked into all of those steps. So to make it something that, if we're really looking at the long-range plan, which I was happy that I could serve on, if we're working on the school improvement plan, the teams, which I'm happy to sit on, and doing these different things, we can make it about the students. And that fourth box in our evaluation process is being able to have relinquished control to the children to be able to teach other children. And what a great model to be able to do that.
Oh, I'm all about it. I'm 100% sold on it. I need Amy's thoughts out loud in terms.
And we're not going to dictate what the curriculum would be.
But I don't think in terms of like a cost, like we keep talking about $22,000. I don't believe that there's actually a $22,000 cost to that if you incorporate other models.
But originally it was a $22,000 cost when we broke it down to the business model. But just erase the $22,000. All that means is we need to take these endorsements to 1 or 2 other school districts so that this way we have that $90,000 in our budget. $22,000, so just erase it. Just erase it from your little memories and just move back. So it's Amy's turn.
So I think the way that we roll out curriculum here is we do it via the entire district. So I guess what I'm missing is that I work in a very collaborative fashion, so I'd have to take the science group that's teaching science and get them in the room, and we'd have to have a further conversation For me, one of the things is that we're in the middle of unit development, and so our big focus right now is at the task and assessment level. And then typically, after doing that, then you begin to incorporate experiences that you'd like to have that embed to those tasks and those assessments. So to me, we're getting there, but we're not at that place of agreement. And I would need elementary, middle, high to reach consensus before I go ahead. I'm not a one that mandates to them, you must do this. I know what feeds us here in East Lyme is a lot of autonomy. So what is expected is the level of standards, but there's also some level of autonomy in the how, because that's what actually builds our culture here, that makes our teaching a higher level. So I want to continue to embrace that. However, we have had conversations at both the science, social studies, as well as world language table to say we might want some common experiences across the years, or ever, like we're having a conversation right now about Project O. Do we want to do it 5th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade because we believe it's a good experience for our kids? They're in conversation at that point. But I would need a lot more people at the table to make any, I wouldn't actually feel comfortable me singularly endorsing something. I would feel really comfortable with the district science committee endorsing it.
I feel really comfortable with that too.
So that's where I would feel.
I think Barbara was next for the question.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I see this, when you first made your presentation, I was excited about all the things that this exploratorium, imaginarium could do, and you were talking about all these different programs you could offer, and that's what you were going to offer to schools, et cetera. So in my mind, what you were saying is that you were going to bring in this equipment, which was going to allow us to do these different kinds of educational programs, which you were then going to offer. So this is a different way of kind of looking at it. It would seem to me that if we know what what programs you're planning on offering as your educational model and what's available, we could certainly, and I was thinking that you were suggesting that if our kids in East Lyme were to take advantage of these programs that you were going to offer, that you were going to charge us the money. So now you're saying, no, you wouldn't.
Initially, that was it.
Right, okay, but what I guess I'm not quite understanding is, why can't you still offer us those same programs that you're going to offer to other schools, et cetera?
Oh, yeah.
There's no mistake.
Right, so why can't we endorse your educational program?
Because it fits in your curriculum.
Well, I think Amy is saying, yes, the things that the planetarium would offer would be things that would be beneficial to our kids.
Well, you don't have a program drive the curriculum, you have the curriculum drive the.
Well, yeah, I know that,
I
but
want to
then.
make sure chicken and the egg.
Right, I
guess,
but then I guess I'm asking myself, we all think this is a good idea, so we think it's a good idea, if we're saying that we think this is a good idea because this is a good educational experience, but we can't say that until we know what the educational experience is, then, I don't know, that's kind of like totally confusing to me. Are we for it or are we not?
Bill?
I agree with Tim. I think we keep the room. I think that these 2 points, we need to have further conversation.
Right.
It's not going to all happen here tonight. Just like Project O is currently supporting our science curriculum in a creative, excellent way, this is going to, I think, the more we learn about what the program could look like, it's just like a teacher getting a smart board or anything, until you find out, oh, wow, I could teach this unit in that room instead, and it will be a whole lot more wow factor. So I think it's definitely the right way to go, but nobody knows what we're endorsing yet for the second 2 bullet points because we don't know. I know that the middle school, I don't know all the details of it, but from what I understand, somebody brought in a mini planetarium there for...
It's the Children's Museum.
No, actually, that was not the Children's Museum this time. This was actually Dr. Dennis Matchnick, who is a professor of astronomy at the planetarium in New Hampshire. He does this when he's not working. Flanders brought him in because of science teacher at the middle school, Carla Frisbee, and her association with Glenn Dewell. So he does the travel planetarium when he is not attached to the New Hampshire Planetarium. So he did a show he did multiple shows at Flanders. He did multiple shows at Niantic Center, which it was $150 per day to bring him in, but he is all in support of a fixed
He was at the middle
planetarium.
school, too. Is
He
this
was
the
at the
same
middle
guy?
school.
Yeah.
Jason wants to actually have him back next year. But that could be something in addition to a fixed space. So the Children's Museum does have one. We've just never used it because the cost is definitely more costly than Dr. Matchnick was, and he's fantastic. I mean, everybody left there. You know, educators can say you walked out of that room, the dome, and you were just like, whoa, and the kids were like, we have a planetarium in the district? I'm like, we do. So there's a lot of
My point is, I think that the more people learn about what potentially could be taught there, the more easy it's going to be for you to figure out, oh, these, we'll just teach that there or not. So,
Candace?
Okay, so last year, I think that you had 4 presentations, or no? How many did you have
What
by
we ended
Spitz?
up doing was, and I think she might have left because she was going to her hotel, but Joyce Town and a representative from Spitz, who were bringing the planetarium at Teachers Memorial Middle School online, came and offered to do a show for us. It was supposed to be one show. And because of the fact that we had over 110 people, she was able to do 4 shows. Again, depending on what happens here this evening, they're willing to come back this summer. And again, we have not, our committee has not entered into any contract with anybody or anything because, again, as partnerships, that has to happen with us collectively. But they're in Philadelphia, it's local. Some of these other planetariums are not even in the country that offer the magnitude of what we need for the scope to be able to do what we want to do with a planetarium. They're willing to come back this summer, run more shows, not just in relationship to science, but to see some of the other educational curriculum that's available, so it's not just pigeonholed to the science. So that can all be different dates that we select, and we can have targeted audience. I've already reached out to, Mike O'Connor, who's the president of the oceanography. He sees the value in this and is going to be working with us in conjunction with moving forward to see the educational curriculum components and how it would work once we have the endorsement from this board, moving forward to other schools, districts. So like, for instance, Waterford, Old Lyme, our regional group, New London, Ledyard, all of those different places where we can say, okay, so this is what we've all worked on, and these are the people that are going to endorse it. You're a contact person. Bring those people to one of these showings, and we can show them exactly what the bang for their buck is going to be.
See, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking, okay, I went to one of them. Clearly, my kids went. It was absolutely outstanding, and the teaching and learning models and just the potential is really, truly unbelievable. And I don't think that people really have a good grasp of the potential. I think that they're kind of just stuck in maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago of what a planetarium was used for and the abilities, and today it is absolutely incredible. So that would be a great opportunity to do that as many times as you can. And have you thought about any other opportunities to utilize the space to advertise what you're doing? So you stated that you're a nonprofit. Okay. So are you able to accept donations and or money to your cause?
At this point, we can accept money to our cause. However, we are not tax exempt, so we have to pay taxes on anything that we receive.
I see.
We don't want to pay taxes.
I agree.
Like, I have a hard time paying my own taxes in town, but I do.
Certainly.
Because it's valuable to purchase very a lot of things. I pay those taxes. John can attest my taxes. So as a result, because of that, I don't want to, we have some big money coming in.
Okay.
Promised to us, the whole thing. And believe me, I don't want to be taxed on that money.
I see.
So we have other things that we've explored. We have a gentleman who has, again, who's pledged his own money to be able to do the audio system in the space and bring that up online. And that wouldn't even come out of the budget that we originally shared. He's willing to do that. He lives in town. This is what he does for his business. He's worked for NBC, ABC, you name all the things. So in addition to doing that, one of the things that he's been looking at is, what are we going to do with that planetarium outside the educational day? So we have events that could happen. I've already spoken with Stan Mickus, who is the Director of Marketing and something affairs for Cross Sound Ferry. We talked about having an evening where, for instance, we show the history of a lighthouse or lighthouses, and then people can actually go into the community, get discounted passes to take the lighthouse tour, whether it's through the Modjoy or through Cross Sound Ferry. We could show Abby Keep the Lighthouse Burning, and then you could do the same thing there. David Taylor has contacted multiple musicians who want to take a look at the facility, be able to put a canopy on the top, have an evening that's sponsored by, say, maybe, well, I'm going to use somebody who said that we can actually use their name, Northern Light Gems. And so it's an evening, listening to art, something or other. I'm not musically inclined. That'd be my husband. And he's a guitar player, but he would do that for free for the public because it'd be sponsored by Tony Suarez and Northern Light Gems. So we have been out in the community. We have been exhausting resources. We have been working on, grants. There's, the potential for this space is limitless. And how we can funnel some of those, being a nonprofit, we're not going to sit on a pile of cash, so we're going to funnel that back into the communities. And that's something that we've been working on, plans to be able to do that over and over again, working with other nonprofits such as, the East Line Public Trust, who has reached back out to us and said, what can we do as a partnership, because we're both looking at something that's mutually beneficial to the town. And so how great would it be to bring them, show them the boardwalk, show them, the bay, show them all of that, and then be able to capitalize on the East Line Public Trust pamphlets where they are telling the history of the scallop beds. They're telling the history of why the weeds are there, or the indigenous flowers are there and plants. So again, it's going to be a partnership. There's a lot of work in progress, but in order for us to be able to get in our budget that $90,000 that we need the endorsement of the Board of Education in those two areas, from the board and from the administration, to say that we have you guys behind us supporting this, and what that educational curriculum will look like will fall onto Amy's shoulders, but I know she's doing, I enjoy working with her, so I'll help her.
Thank you.
Eric? Thanks. So can you just, so I want to really focus on that first point and make sure I understand. So, so what we're doing is locking up that space for the 2018-19 school year?
I wouldn't say locking. You're holding the space. So until we actually have equipment that's brought into that space, if we make all of our timelines, that space is still available to be used. I think now, I've gone up there several times, it's storage, or, teachers have been doing, additional testing in that space.
So I just want, what's the plan? Because I think I did 1/1/19 is the plan.
When we met with you as the ad hoc committee meeting, what we had talked about was entering into a contract with a vendor in March of 2019 and having the planetarium back up online by August of 2019. But we have to meet those very specific timetables in order to get there.
I didn't see, looking at the timelines, I didn't see in August 2000.
No, that was when we met with you. I don't believe that's in our, I don't think we put that in our strategic plan, but we had talked about that in the ad hoc committee meeting, and we talked about it at the Board of Ed meeting when we presented back in, was that April? March.
So,
thanks, Dan.
So the timeline that was sent was mostly helpful. I think the part that I'm still missing, or I think that we asked for at the meeting, was, some specifics around some of those questions that I'm asked. So when do you think you'll get the tax exempt status?
I sent that information through Lynn Bobner, that according to our attorney, we should know whether or not we have the tax exemption for the nonprofit would be within the next 6 months.
So that's 1/1/19. Sorry, 1/1/19, is that what?
Is it on page 2? Yes.
Okay.
my committee is saying yes, so I'm going to listen to them.
Okay. So in terms of fundraising until 1/1/19, assuming you hit that date and that works, you can't actually start fundraising until 1/1/19.
No, we can start fundraising.
They just have
It's
to
just
pay
a matter of whether or not we want to pay taxes for that money or we don't want to pay taxes.
I think I'm not saying I'm an expert on this, but so you'd pay taxes. It also means the donor cannot get a tax deduction.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So
This
it's
is why
kind of a
having-
double, it's a double whammy.
Exactly.
Okay, so,
Diane? But anybody that contributes to this program, anytime, once we
Dan,
receive
did you
that
wanna come in?
status, as of date of incorporation, which we've already incorporated, any funding from date of incorporation to when we get the final agreement is in fact tax deferred for anybody that contributes to it. Because once we get it, any funds contributed back, when did we get it, in April?
It was April,
May
sorry,
4th.
May 4th.
Anything contributed between May 4th forward, once we get tax exempt status, is tax exempt for the donor.
Oh.
It is.
For the donor.
For the donor, yeah. So I mean, that's the way, the law works.
Retroactively?
Retroactively, yeah, because it's as of date of incorporation, not date of final approval by IRS, because we're already incorporated. I mean, that's what the attorneys have told us.
Okay.
We've had it verified 2 or 3 different ways.
So it still gets, so if I'm a donor, it gets a little, I'm making a donation this year, you get tax exempt status next year, so my tax deduction actually hits the following year.
Yeah,
that I have
if we
to
don't
make
get it
on a
before
date.
the...
It just,
Yeah.
so you may get people who may not want to donate
Oh, yeah, it could be.
until that time, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So it would be, so here's what I'm still struggling. If we're looking to open September 2019, if we get, so that means that from, assuming you don't get donations until 1/1/19, now maybe you're going to do something different, but if you don't get donations and fundraising until 1/1/19, you have to get all the donations, buy the equipment, get everything set up in kind of an 8-9 month time frame. It seems aggressive to me. That seems like a challenge. And so then, and I'm still struggling to separate. I'm not sure. Maybe that doesn't matter. I'm a Board of Ed and you're responsible to set it up. So then I say, what are the risks to the Board of Ed? So the risk of the Board of Ed I see is two things. One is that things get delayed, so now we're holding it. We're back having the same question, and bullet 1 says hold it through 2020. So like at what point do we say that's, we're not going to hold it anymore? And that's, and if we're, I'd rather commit and say we're just going to either hold it till you guys are ready, or we're not, or set some kind of date, because I don't want to keep coming back. That's my concern.
And we would love to not keep coming back, too.
Yeah.
But Karen Urgaitis, who is part of our committee, she was instrumental in procuring the grant for Teacher Memorial Middle School. And she can tell you, it can be done in that short amount of time. So in talking with, and again, we are not under contract with any vendor at this time, but when given the timetable that we've talked to the different vendors about, they're confident it can be done as well. And even if we have promissory donations, we can still enter into a contract and not have to pay, or only be able to pay a certain amount up front and then continue to make payments.
Okay. So the risk on that, and again, that's for, I guess I have to separate myself. The risk that you guys have, if you start entering in these agreements, I don't know who's guaranteeing those agreements. So
That would fall under Stars to STEM Incorporated. The
Right,
risk falls
so-
all with us.
So if I'm a vendor, I'm a little worried about that, but you guys figure that out. I guess I need to just stop worrying about that piece of it. The second part of the risk from just a Board of Ed perspective, you guys, is if it fails, and I have to think that way. So what are the ramifications? And there is some ramification that the town, other than the people sitting in this room, I think most people in town will think the Board of Ed is behind this planetarium. no matter how much we add, it's at the high school, right? So there's going to be some think that the Board of Ed is, so if it fails, there will be egg on our face a little bit as well to say that, hey, we might get people coming in, hey, what happened? You guys said you were going to put this together, public comment and say you weren't successful. So it's something that it will fall on us as well. I hope it's successful. I think it'd be cool. I'm interested in going myself. I've said that 1,000 times, but that is, the risks from a Board of Ed only perspective is, one is that we keep the space and keep having to keep the space open, and two is if it doesn't work, what's the feeling from town on the Board of Ed?
We've been down that road before. The Board of Selectmen in town actually took a chance on the old library for the Children's Museum. They actually gave us the property $1 a year and said, go do this. And it was a big risk for them, too, because nobody even knew what a kids' museum was. But we don't intend on failing, to be quite honest with you. I mean,
Nobody intends to.
No,
it happens.
But we also, we're diligent about coming through with everything we're trying to prove here along.
So I just want to make, the last thing I just want to be clear, because I think at our that subcommittee meeting, maybe there was a little disconnect on the expectations of what you're hoping for from the Board of Ed. In other words, do you want us to, or is there an expectation that we're coming to your, is there more that you want from the Board of Ed other than bullet 1? I know bullet 2 and bullet 3 you want, we'll have to discuss that. But is there more of us coming to me? Is there something more that you guys
We
want?
would love for more members to be actively involved, but again, we understand that you have lives outside of the Board of Education. You have children, you have commitments to sports, other organizations that you devote your time to. I get it. So, you guys have to decide what level of commitment you want to put in there. But when we as a committee come together and we come back to you with different things that we have and proposals and everything else, if you're not part of the planning process, at times it's hard to catch up, but we can work as far as that communication and having open lines of communication so that you're privy to the information instead of just when we show up at an ad hoc committee meeting or, a Board of Ed meeting that you're sick and tired of seeing us at. But, so again, these things can definitely happen. It's something that's a work in progress. It's a model that's never been done before. Even though we've tried to model a little bit after the pool, because you have the pool, you've seen what happens when you've had a dip in revenue and what you're going to do to be able to up that membership or solicit to YMCAs or whatever that you're going to have to do. We don't know. And again, I'm not one that puts myself out there. You might have a little egg on your face. We're going to have a lot of egg. And, I don't like eggs that much. So I just would love to move forward and just see what happens. Let's the dice roll. And there's a lot of people that are on our committee that are not, failure is just not an option for us.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, I'm sorry, Jean?
Can I just say something? So I've known Diane a long time. I've seen her go from nothing on the, I'm never going to remember the name of the project that you do. Thank you. The outdoor stormwater classroom. I think Aiden was one of the first classes that did that, some years ago, when it was just like an hour-long presentation down at McCook's and a little walk around with an experiment, to this huge production that she has today with Salem, East Lyme, all the elementary schools that go down there. And she worked hard. I've never seen.
And it did not cost you any additional money.
And it didn't cost any money. She did it all with grants. And she works hard for this town, for this community, for everybody in it, for nothing. She does it on her own. And while I know we all have our concerns about the planetarium, I've seen of this work that she's done with this committee. It's crazy. It's amazing. And she's done it in a short amount of time. And I know that she'll give it everything she has to succeed. And I'm 100% behind bullet 1. And I have a lot of faith in our teachers and our staff that they do bullet 2 and bullet 3. With that said, I'm in favor of holding the space for them. I think it's something that would behoove us to help our students and our staff meet our standards that we're looking for and help us with our long-range plan.
you'd like to even put something in as regards to curriculum where we would meet however you would like us to meet.
This is what I would propose. What I'm hearing, and I think, is I'm hearing a lot of strong consensus holding the space for another year until June 30th of 2019. I'm hearing that, okay? What I also would suggest is that you've only had, the ad hoc committees, it'll go on forever. But I do think that bullet 2 and 3 need to be flushed out. Amy and Jeff have work to do. I think that, I actually think that this is the first time we've heard this kind of this twist, and the people that were on the ad hoc committee, this was the first time, right, that you've heard this twist.
Well, and we've only had one opportunity to meet.
Right,
so-
that's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So I think there's more dialogue that needs to occur to kind of flush all that out, and then we need to, we need input, obviously, from the curriculum experts, and how this would all these pieces would fit together. So I certainly would support a motion to continue to hold the planetarium space at the high school for the planetarium advisory committee. Is that what you guys call it? Yeah, I guess. No, you're incorporated. STEM, stars to STEM. Stars to STEMs. Yeah. Is it Inc?
Inc.
Yeah, Inc. Until June 30th of 2019. And that doesn't mean that, and if that motion was made by someone, that doesn't also mean that we can't,
Stars to STEM Inc.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that 6 months from now, when all these pieces kind of come together, we can have another motion that even takes it even further. So anyway, that's what I'm hearing. Anybody like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to hold the space at the high school for the revised planetarium? The planetarium until June 30th, 2019 for Stars to STEM Inc.
That's Candace. More discussion, comments? More discussion, comments? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay.
And wait to see.
And Andy, thank you very much. That was very well done, too. And, of course, Diane, as
Thank you.
always.
I have nothing.
Right, yeah.
Did you see the 38 bottle of hot dog water that's sold out at the car?
That later.
It's on CBS or something.
We're here. I think we're
Yeah, I just think.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah. Well,
We can always take a brief recess.
No, let's go.
You want to keep going? Okay, thanks. Al, that's what, if Al was here, he'd
I'm telling
crack
you,
the
I'm
whip here.
Al, we're going.
Okay.
Cracking the whip.
Cracking the whip.
All right,
Okay,
moving on.
next item for discussion and action is the proposed one-year contract renewal with the Visiting Nurse Association, the VNA, in the period from July 1st to 2018 to June 30th of 2019. Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, just, I had emailed you yesterday in relation to, we just had some, the old dates were left in that document. We fixed it, so it's out there now. There's no language changes. It's just an overall 2% increase. I think you can see that chart. Since, I think it was 2012, incrementally, they've gone up a percentage increase. I mean, we've had very good luck with the VNA, and our medical advisor, oversees them as well. It's a nice connection. I think it's something we need to continue to look at, too, as, a contracted service versus our own. It's an expensive venture, but we've had some good nurses. I think our opinions will attest to, what's been in the school so far.
Jamie?
Correct me if I'm wrong, we've looked in the past of going to our own nurses, and it's cost prohibitive.
No,
I know
done
you
that.
haven't, but
No, I don't know
Tim,
if it was previously.
you've done it before.
It has been looked at before. It was, has to do with the overall administration of what if somebody's sick and filling in, and it's just, what you're hiring. Yeah, that's, and
We've looked at it before because this price keeps climbing, but this is much cheaper and we get this a better deal than if we did it ourselves.
I think, and having the subs that can come in on a regular basis is a big deal, because not having a sub can really be problematic.
But that doesn't mean that at some point we should look at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that involve hiring a medical director or someone to supervise?
Well, we have one now that does supervise and
Maybe a
gives them
nurse.
information.
A nurse, you might need a nurse supervisor.
Or a medical supervisor, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to need someone,
Yeah.
so then you've got to hire for that.
Might be something down the road to look at.
It's worth
Costs
looking
keep
at.
going up.
I would suggest.
Yep. Maybe too, there's a way that, if we had our, let's say, hypothetically, we got our own subs, maybe Kelly Services, for instance, could provide subs. Did they do, they were getting. I was talking to Joe Nofield this morning.
Do they?
He mentioned something, he was looking into that, but I don't think they do right now, but it might, you guys didn't hear anything about that, did you?
No, we didn't discuss
Okay.
it today.
All right, so that might be an option, maybe a contract out for subs, but if we have our own, so it's something to look at for the
So
future.
the hourly fee that we pay isn't actually what the nurses make,
Correct.
right?
Yes, that's
So that includes what?
Their administrative fees.
Yeah, I think they're the administrative oversight that we're paying.
And do they also give the nurses insurance?
Marianne, do you know?
I would imagine.
I think they have
I would
to offer
imagine they
it.
give them.
So that includes insurance for the nurses and then their administrative fee?
Yeah.
I would think it would be interesting if we're thinking down the road that we might want to pursue to find out what the breakdown is.
What their breakdown is?
Yeah, like,
Why?
To see what the.
But to look at the cost.
to see what the administrative fee is.
Because you're thinking about hiring our own nurses?
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, if the average cost, if the average salary of a nurse in Connecticut is like $36,
Maybe more. I have a
Right.
friend who makes $50 an hour as a nurse.
right, but 36 is the average, so then there are people who make less. But let's say it's this, it's certainly, it'd be interesting to know what the administrative fee was.
Yeah.
Because if you figure out what you're paying in administrative fee is the only way you're going to know whether it's cost-effective to do it yourself.
But we don't want to have to worry about their professional insurance, a supervisor. I'm telling you, it'd be more complicated than we anticipated to be.
And that's what we found last time.
It's just too complicated when you're dealing with something in the medical arena.
A lot of places do it.
Well, I don't want it done here, my opinion only. I think we
I
would
think it
be.
warrants watching is at this juncture.
Contracted services can be easier, but they're a lot more expensive.
We don't want that.
Much.
We
You have
just
to
don't
watch the
want that
costs
responsibility.
and, what you're getting for the service.
Right. I mean, I think to find out what we're paying as an administrative fee is not a bad idea.
No, we can know.
I mean, how else do you know whether or not?
But there's so much involved in when you're doing service with a VNA. For example, you have the opportunity to go into case rounds, those type of things. But, all right, I'll stop, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, so, Jeff, do you think this is something in the coming year you should take a?
Yeah, I think, Mariana, we can
another look.
probably work with them to break down, to get some associated
Well, maybe
costs,
the
administrative fees.
FFO could take a look at it when we
Yeah.
start
To
to
bring it
look
to-
at,
Yeah.
you know,
But in going forward.
for next year is fine. I'm
Okay,
just saying as we
would you like to
move
make a
for-
motion?
Oh, yes, I make a motion that we approve the new VNA contract from June 30th, 2018 through June 30th, 2019?
No, July 1st.
July
through-
1st.
2018 to June 30th, 2019.
Okay.
Yes.
Got
I
it.
second.
Lee seconded.
I second. Who's- oh.
Yeah, she's, okay. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, passed unanimously. And Jeff, just make sure you.
Yeah, I made a note.
Put that, yeah. on the
Absolutely,
list.
we'll look at that and start to think about where we can fit that in with FFO.
Okay, the next item is proposed one-year contract renewal with the School of Medical Advisor, Dr. B.J. Secan, effective July 1st, 2018 through June 30th of 2019.
Yeah, I just want to credit Dr. Secan for his working with us and reducing his overall fee by $7,000. I think that was, generous of him. It aligns with where other districts are, and I think a great medical advisor. So, it was a win-win.
The motion
Yeah, go ahead.
to, I make a motion to approve this contract
As so stated or something.
to run from July 1st, 2018 to, this is, I'm sorry, 2 installments.
Where it says recommended action, so.
Oh, I'm
move to
sorry.
That's okay, move to authorize the superintendent.
July,
Yeah, no, where's, I'm trying to get what Candace just said.
oh, that's on
All
a
right.
different page.
It's,
Oh,
See
right
where it
here,
is?
right here.
Okay. Where?
Administrative content.
To authorize a,
All right.
right
We'll
there.
recommend the board to authorize them to sign a one-year contract renewal with the school medical advisor, period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
I second it.
Jill seconds it, okay. Any discussion on this one?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Significant reduction.
Opposed?
We argue.
Right.
Abstained, passes unanimously. Okay, next item is proposed, for discussion, act, proposed one-year renewal agreement with Spiral International for the school year 2018-19. And I know we had the,
Yep, we.
I have a question.
yeah.
Yeah, we,
Jeff,
let me give it, maybe, I don't know if I'll answer it, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Our long-term agreement has ended with Spiral. I think it's in our best interest to kind of go year to year now in moving forward. There are no real language changes in here other than on page 5 under Party B, we're Party B, 424, Lynn had highlighted for us.
saw those.
You can see those, yeah. So really, this is things we're 424 and 425 are things we're doing now, and actually, this is a good thing because we should be looking at expectations of top-ranked, American universities, and that's something they want. That's, one of their goals, to gather information on that for their system over there, and then also assistance with the college application system and process. So remember, we're kind of their support mechanism. We're guiding them as they're building their school system over there. And then the last highlighted 1427 was simply, we found that, and they're looking at the idea of trying to get back to 12th graders rather than ninth grade. Yes, or 10th grade. Doesn't make sense for 10th or 11th, but 12th graders back to that component where they could get a dual diploma, as they did when we had was here and the other 12th graders that we had. Last year? 2 years ago. 2 years ago now. Yeah.
And doing it a little bit differently with the 12th graders, where they would already have their college planned ahead of time. So it's not something that we would be orchestrating here at the high school.
Yeah.
Was one of the things that Ms. Kelly had noted.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep, they come to us with their credits, we review their credits, they do their 12th grade here, just like that group did, and then they get, like that group did, they got an East Lyme diploma.
So the first
There's a
time they
dual.
came, the first time the older students came, when Betty had come,
Right, I remember they walked with us. They walked.
Yes.
I didn't think they
yes,
got it.
yes, I actually gave Betty her.
you did, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I
they got a
didn't know that
diploma.
they were graduating with an East Lyme High School diploma.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But the college piece of it was incredibly overwhelming and challenging, not just for those students, but for hosting parents that were bringing them all over and what they needed for credits, and for the high school, too. It just was a whole lot bigger than I think people had projected. So if the 12th graders are going to come again, Mrs. Kelly, they're kind of ironing that out.
Initially, I thought they wanted to have like 9th graders or 10th graders come over for a year, or 9th graders come over for then leave, but then once they graduated 3 years later, over there would get a dual diploma at that time. I would be no way in favor of that, absolutely not. But it's just like a student coming from another town, here's the number of credits they've obtained. They sit them as a 12th grader as long as they complete our 25, all total together, and they get their diploma.
So I guess my confusion lies in the fact that from my memory, when we first started this program, we said that in no way would they be competing with our students. So are they,
No, yeah.
we said that we didn't want them competing for college spots and scholarship spots with our students. So my question, I guess, lies in if we're giving them an East Lyme High School diploma, then they are competing with our students for college spots.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Is a few if they are going to go to American college. So I can't remember offhand how many kids came. I want to maybe say 12. I think that maybe 4 went to American colleges. I know a couple. I know Betty went to Boston, LaSalle. Another young lady went to Boston. Another lady went to New York. And then the rest went home.
Yeah, back when that group was here, we were supposed to have 10. We had 9. 9 total seniors.
Yeah.
And if you're saying 4, I don't know how many actually went off to college, but.
Because I think that when we first did this, that was our big thing. We didn't want them competing for college spots against our students. We didn't want any of our East Lyme students losing a spot to a college because they were given to one of the Chinese
that's right.
students.
That was the conversation was if you had
If they were
4 Albert Einsteins come from China to East Lyme and they all applied to Princeton and Yale and they only take a couple of people from max of 2 from a given high school, they could compete. And then we had a lot of conversation about the type of but then we said but the type of students that'll be coming here, they're going to be lucky if they do try to apply it, that they'll be getting into they won't be competing for they won't really be.
But then
in
the
a
list of
competition.
colleges that they listed are all colleges that our students apply for.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, you know what? For next year, this agreement is a 1-year agreement. We have no seniors coming, so really this isn't even applicable because it's freshmen. So I think when we come back around, if and when we do get 12th graders, then I think we need to put this back on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the
it's a good
1-year
point.
agreement
No, and
versus.
I understand
Yeah, I agree.
that.
1-year agreements moving forward. Yep.
I don't want our students who have been here for their lifetimes losing out on a spot to MIT because they have that.
Absolutely agree, Jamie. Yep.
Sure.
But they live in China.
Doesn't matter, they can still apply for college.
No, but I'm saying I would think that colleges would look at them still, regardless if they went to East Lyme High School, would look at them
Right,
not.
but they're going to look at the admissions office is going to see this student is from East Lyme.
That
We're
takes
only
my
gonna
East
give
Lyme
out-
slot.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're going to put the East
I
Lyme
do.
school profile up, they're going to put their application of East Lyme High School, and that's what they're going to look at.
But they're still an exchange student, so I'm not so sure it's quite the same thing.
Probably not, but
I think it was a great point that you
Let's
brought
flag
up.
that.
It's good conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And then
with that,
I move to authorize the superintendent to sign a 1-year renewal agreement with Spiral International for the 2018-2019 school year.
okay. Somebody want to second that?
Second.
Oh, we got 3 over here.
Barbara seconded.
I just had the loudest voice.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously. And the next item is the proposed tuition rate at the East Lyme Public High School for out-of-district students. And this does not include the Salem students. That's done separately.
Yep, this is, we reviewed this at FFO. This is just a separate, this is what if we have a student from Waterford or a student from another town that a parent wants to send that student to our district, this is the amount that they would pay in tuition, the $17,492 as the newly proposed rate.
And Mariana put together a nice calculation sheet, too. Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Thanks, Ralph.
So up a little bit from the previous year.
This is what, if a teacher has his child come into our district, this is what they pay also?
Yes, yeah, there's nothing, as a of right now. Yep.
Okay. Good. Anybody like to make a motion on this one?
I'll make a motion to approve the pros tuition rate for out-of-district students attending Eastline Public Schools for the 2018-2019 school year at $17,492. This does not include special education programs, coastal connections, or high school students from Salem.
Okay. Is there a second? Candace seconds it. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously. And the next item is the proposed East Lyme High School Coastal Connections program tuition rate for out-of-district students. And this, again, does not include the Salem students.
So currently, we've based this number off of our enrollment. We're sitting as of 6/1/18 with 24 students that are part of the coastal program. That document reflects, the cost per pupil, $16,888.22. Tuition for this past year has been $18,300. We felt, there are fluctuations in student numbers, so we felt that it would be appropriate to leave the proposed tuition rate for 18-19 at that same $18,300 and not change it. We have one student that started mid-year this year from another town. That is parent-funded, and potentially we'll have maybe a second one coming from another district that would be funded maybe by the district. There's some conversation going on right now.
I'm glad to see those numbers up.
Yeah, 24. That's really good.
It's really good.
It is. David Fasulu has been doing a wonderful job with that program, following with the work, of previous administration.
It would be good to hear next, maybe in the fall or something, just hear.
I would love to have
Absolutely, yeah, because there's a lot of new programs, a lot of new connections he's made, through the Coast Guard Museum, the Museum, Seaport, so.
Great.
Lots of new internships. They actually built a kayak, a wooden kayak. I don't know if anybody saw it. I have a picture of it. It's absolutely amazing. So beautiful. Yeah. And they sold it, and then when you went back. Don't take it.
That's right, yeah.
Which is really, it's really unbelievable.
No.
Jill, did you have a question?
Yes. Do they have a separate graduation?
No, they graduate from East Lyme.
Yeah, they
What
were,
am I
yeah.
thinking?
They were there.
The 18 to 21 has a
Yeah,
the 18 to.
That's what,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know, sorry.
Actually, they walk during their graduating year, and then we just do a little.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
21.
That's right,
Yeah.
because you guys, I remember the ceremony on Central Office, correct? A couple of years ago?
So not every coastal student decides to walk, but many of them do. So we encourage them to, if they will do
Okay,
it.
I don't know what I confused it with something else, I apologize.
But we had a nice little ceremony with them about 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the school year ended. They had kind of their own little graduation ceremony, but then they do
With who?
themselves as almost like a family. It was really nice. It was
Coastal
held up in our
Connections did
central-
have their own little ceremony.
Yeah, they had
Just
their
like
own
a
little
end of the year
gathering and
celebration.
celebrations and dinner, and they had it right in our central office conference room.
How many seniors, how many graduates did we have?
I don't know off the top of my head. how many.
6? Oh, that's great.
Fantastic.
We've got a lot of juniors coming back too, I think.
But we
which
were
is
talking
nice
about- we
next
don't-
year.
That's good.
Can you cue us when it's going to give us a cue when it's going to happen next year?
When, yeah, absolutely.
Are we allowed to go?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that would be great, definitely. Yep.
If I could just plant the seed 1 year early, that next year, with my work with the coastal teachers around problem-based learning, that instructional supplies amount may need to increase. Just saying, just planting the seed now, for a year from now.
Okay.
Just figured I'd just,
That's what my daughter does.
yeah.
Do I make a
I'd
motion?
like to make a motion to
$800
approve
for
the
a whole
proposed
4
tuition
years.
rate for out-of-district students attending coastal connections for the 2018-2019 school year at $18,300. This does not include special education programs or high school students from Salem.
Yeah, Lee seconds it. Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Passes unanimously. Okay. Next item, state of the district timeline.
Yeah, I just want to follow up if there was any other, comments or questions. I mean, this was a new component that really is we created evidence as well. We needed evidence of the work that we've done in our district forward. Candace?
I just want to say how much I loved that document. I think it is great. It's a work in progress. We keep adding to it.
That's right, year to year now.
It's outstanding, and it's great to actually see it, because I think that you do things, and then you move on, and then you keep going, and then you kind of forget, and it's wonderful. I even brought it to the Board of Finance meeting with me to show them, and we offered to bring it back to present
Yeah.
for the Board of Finance.
I think it would be good to, as much as possible, share out, because it's an evidence builder.
Can we share it with other school systems?
I'm sorry?
Can we share it with other school
We should do
systems?
it at CAVE.
Well, yeah, that's what we were
exactly what
saying,
we
that
brought
we
up.
should submit it as a,
Yeah, I think it
Someone
might
wanna
be too
mail it
late,
to.
though, but for next year.
Well, yeah, because it's going to be a year-to-year document, so
Yeah, I
we
think
can,
next year.
What are you guys doing?
we can keep it
Because they've
going.
already finalized.
That's you, because it doesn't say.
no, not yet. I think that there's been a call.
Yeah, I think they've called for submissions, but
I don't know what the date was.
I don't know, I'm on the
check.
committee.
I'll look
Oh,
at it.
yeah, okay.
you're on the submission committee.
I'm on the CAVE workshop.
What are you doing this? Oh, it's not a workshop, though.
I don't know, keep something. It's for, I mean, that's what he was,
Yeah.
East Lyme was selected.
Right, but it's not this, it's not a workshop.
Well, maybe it's still open. Is it still open, Amy? Do you know?
Yeah.
No, because I got the brochure yesterday.
Yeah, but that's not it's not a workshop. And you know that table where you get the calendar?
Oh, is that
That's what we're talking about, yeah.
Oh.
You know, the calendar.
You get a blue ribbon on, you get a blue ribbon on your
Jamie still
document.
won.
It's a
Okay.
pretty calendar again. Artwork and all the dates and the handbook inside of it.
Okay.
The PTA meeting.
Okay, so we can put in.
Any other comments on the,
I just want to say kudos to, all of our staff and administration. I mean, they've
Yeah.
got such a big role, and Amy with the content committees have, really been the body of that work, and Lynn for putting it together.
The guy I teach with.
It's going online, right?
Yes, it should be online. Lynn, it's online already. Not yet, okay.
I'm the oldest person on the staff.
But seriously, we can give it to other school systems.
Yeah, we'll share out regularly. I mean, I think
Public
it's a public
no, not
document.
yet.
Okay,
I got one more.
have a plan.
No, we have.
Start, yeah.
Discussion action, the last item that we have is the discussion action for the proposed East Lyme Public Schools non-union, non-administrative salary and benefit adjustments for 2018-19. And these were reviewed at the FFO meeting.
No,
Both
And-
FFO and
affiliated meeting.
unaffiliated meeting last week. Actually, two unaffiliated meetings. We met once a while back in March, I think it was, and then, and then again. So we hope and ask the board to support our increases for all of our unaffiliated staff members.
Did everybody look at it? Any questions?
Yeah,
Talked about an FFO.
would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move to approve the East Lyme Public Schools unaffiliated / non-certified wage benefit schedule for the 2018-2019 due date 6/22/18.
Okay.
I second. Whoever.
That was close.
It doesn't matter.
I got John.
There we go. All right. Any other discussion, comments on this? No? Okay, everybody all right? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously. Now we move on to administration reports.
Just a few quick items. Linda Johansson said it earlier during public comment about the insurance meeting that took place today. I want to thank the unions for, pushing and working with us and having conversation on this. I think it's strategically, we need to continue to see, where we're falling with insurance, and more conversations need to be had. So that work will continue. Kudos to the middle school and high school administration and everyone for their exceptional graduations. I think they were both wonderful ceremonies, and want to thank them. And then just a thanks to all of you for, I think it's been a great year as we close out another school year. It's amazing how fast it went. And thanks for really embracing board docs too. I think this is working well. I like it. I think it's
I like it
working
too.
well.
Oh, that was another thing I brought up at the Board of Finance, too.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah, that they should
They
consider.
should jump on board,
Yeah,
save
so.
some money.
Listen, it's a work in progress for
Jamie's
me.
doing good with it.
Wait.
You're doing great. You're
I'm
doing.
doing
Jamie, you're doing
much
great.
better than I thought I would
Absolutely.
ever do
I mean,
at this.
I'll tell you what, we're doing better than Waterford because I heard Waterford did not embrace it. So I'm just going to say that every one of you has
I said
embraced
we're doing better for Waterford. He said that's not hard.
Watch out, they're going to challenge us to a match or something.
Shame on you.
A typing note batch.
So thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it. Amy, you got anything to say?
No, just that we are in retreat mode. We have a
Yeah.
here on Friday, and let's kick off some retreats to close out the year. So we've had a central office admin retreat already half-day. We have all the buildings for a half-day building principal retreat this Wednesday. We have all of the admin on Thursday for an admin retreat. I myself have my own office and department as a retreat tomorrow morning. So it's sort of a let's close out, reflect on the year, but let's begin already to build for next year. What we do with the admin retreat is we break it up. So we get together as a group, we have them leave that day with a sense of sort of where we're heading based on our reflections, sort of where we're thinking we're going, so that they can go ahead and meet with their school improvement teams. And then we come back together in August and they present what their school improvement teams did, and we sort of do the final details of our district improvement plan. So we allow sort of
That's
amount
much
of
better
town.
than that one day.
Yeah, a lot to take in when it's 2 days sort of back to back, but it allows them to go back and meet with their building-based teams and support that work. And I have 9 content-based committees that are working on curriculum revision this year, and the first one's tomorrow.
You mean this year or this summer?
This summer.
This summer.
Your meeting?
This short
Summer. Yeah, short.
Yeah.
So, it's off. We're off and running.
Mariana, anything to add?
Just working on year-end stuff and starting the new year, and I'm scheduling training for my staff with the current software. Oh my God. And the workouts.
Good. Excellent. Wow.
Yeah. Question, maybe it was for Jeff, but in terms of this veto ride session that just happened, were there bills that you were trying to play with? There was conversation. I just don't.
There's been a lot of back and forth in relation to the student discipline bill that's out there. A lot of back and forth. So I mean, I think there needs to be a kind of nothing is that I know of. I've not heard a word or seen anything come out of an email. Nothing.
They didn't. They didn't override anything.
Okay. I didn't know what the final
bills that they talked to that he vetoed, and I'm not.
So they never.
If that bill was in there or not. But it's not too much on the campaign.
I haven't. Yeah, I would have seen something pop up, but I have not seen anything.
Okay.
So.
I know Cabe sent us that one letter from Diane Wenzel.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to read it, but
And at some point too, Tim, I know you made mention of talking about some of these bills. At some point, so I think maybe we need to find maybe the first meeting in August or when we have a little bit of.
Just a bill on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Just a kind of an overview. We always get a nice pamphlet from Shipman and Goodwin too that breaks them down.
That song, oh my God, we all grew up with it.
So we'll share on.
Okay, board, that brings us to board comments.
I have a board comment.
Okay, go.
Shocker. I was very excited about the new graduation seating.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. But like I said to Amy, my suggestion is to flip us to the other side of the graduate so that the parents can see the kids and not staff.
Yeah,
So
that's a
flip
good
us to the
idea.
other side so the students are
good
sitting there.
suggestion.
And then my other comment about graduation was all the people smoking on school grounds.
Oh, where?
And I actually made a comment to someone, there were 6 of them smoking cigars in front in the grass.
Was it the students or the adults?
Both. And I told them that they were smoking in a non-smoking section of the town, and they just shrugged at me and said, oh, well.
Somebody made mention to me about,
And there, I did see a
smoking
guy
signs. We
vaping
don't have enough
during
smoking.
the graduation ceremony, but it was the cigars that really got me.
Guy vape.
And they said they didn't care.
Oh, nice.
I'm sure they.
Well, we don't have enough smoking signs, if any, around campus.
Well, there's
too.
big
And not that
orange
it's going to
signs
stop
right
somebody,
there that
but
say no smoking.
well,
We got our security.
Everybody knows you don't.
because it's a
Come on.
policy.
It's a policy.
It's
Pretty well
We have
known
the
that
same
you don't
issue going
smoke
on in
on
our
school
school.
Yeah,
grounds.
but the whole family of like 6 were all smoking cigars.
I
during
see.
Right after the ceremony when they were taking pictures.
For the celebration.
That makes sense.
They're standing right there by the picnic tables.
Oh, but there's still not.
Okay, gotcha.
You know what?
Gotcha.
I mean,
I have to say, I love
I go back and
the
forth.
and
That's good. That's good.
if that's what
Kudos to the
they're
high school for rearranging.
doing.
I do.
Dad probably bought the cigarettes.
The middle school was
Candace?
absolutely outstanding. I love the new way that you set it up too. The new podium is outstanding. Mrs. Frost no longer has to stand on a stool, and because I am part of the small and mighty club, I mean, I understand the challenge, and it was really nice. You guys really have a great dynamic, all three of you, and you're a great team. And it really emulates. It really does. So it was a beautiful night. The high school walkthrough, the senior walk, again, was an absolute success. I know that it is a challenge logistically. And honestly, it was looking like it might not even happen. And I know that it was a lot of hard work, and it was challenging. The bus company actually donated 2 buses, which was outstanding. You know, it's not a dry eye. It brings everybody full circle. And everybody just loves it. The teachers, the kids, the parents, it's an outstanding moment. So it's worth the work.
Good.
So thank everybody.
That's excellent. 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 Anybody else? Oh, Eric.
I'm going to pile on a little bit. So middle school graduation, fantastic. Great job. Really, really enjoyed going to that. The high school graduation, the speeches were unbelievable. Like every single one, including Jeff, including Mike.
Yeah.
They had it, because I've been at the past 2, and not to say, they just didn't connect with me as much as these like connected. Like they really reached back into the students and talked about that class, what they did.
Mike always
and I
does a
thought
good
that
job
was
with that.
really, really good. And you know, I enjoyed it. Like I said, you know, some people are like, oh, you got to sit through graduation. I was like, I enjoyed listening to the speeches. So that was really good. My other comment is this graduating class is, you know, phenomenal in terms of the schools that they're going to. And I don't know if, do we publish like this anywhere, or can we put this
It's
anywhere?
online. It's everywhere.
Because it is, I mean, you look at the schools, it's incredible, you know, from...
Yeah. Did that come out?
Saga, yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I didn't see it.
I
It
didn't.
was actually in the office, there's...
Oh, you got, yeah. But we don't get...
We got to work that out.
Yeah, because I was.
Yeah, because I was
Saga,
waiting to see it.
I mean, I suppose.
Yeah.
They're in the main, there are some in the main office.
Okay.
We'll have to grab them. Yeah, we want copies of that.
I mean, I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, we published the honor roll.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
And I was going to say there was, what was it?
is online, isn't it?
Williams posted their seniors, where their seniors were going, and I've been meaning to mention this because I figured you'd love to hear this. So there was a list of where every Williams graduate was going. There wasn't a single Ivy in the group. There wasn't a single Ivy in the group. And I was going to say that our kids are going to way better high schools than the kids at Williams.
And it's Ivy League equivalent, or even just good, you know, just a ton of great, well-known.
You really can, you can post it, you can put it in the
Yeah, I just made a note. I'll look into it to see.
Old Lyme does it all the time.
Good job, class of 2018.
Yeah.
Second that.
Good.
Great job.
Anybody else?
Amazing kids.
Any other? No?
Just have to thank the board.
Okay.
We'll get some Saga copies then tomorrow. We'll call over the office.
Public comment. Any, Diane?
And then I promise I'll go away so you can go home.
No, we have to
No, we
stay.
have executive
I'll
session.
make it really short. First of all, again, Diane Swan, 7 North Beechwood Road. I'm an educator in town, as you know, and now president of Stars to STEM Incorporation. So thank you all for your unanimous vote to hold the room. Look forward to working with you. I am going to leave you pledge forms, but it did cost our incorporation money at Staples, so if you're not going to use it, just kindly send them back to me so we can recycle them. As far as publishing students' names and what schools they're going to, I am going to say I have an issue with that as a parent and a former student going through East Lyme High School. We have to remember that there's students that aren't able to go for post-secondary education for financial reasons, in addition to the fact that some students might not have got into their college of choice, and so they're going to a secondary school, a secondary choice school, which was not their first intent.
They're upset.
So we had decided as a district several years ago, when we used to come in for the opening day, where it used to be posted with the graduates and where they went to school, not to do that anymore. So I'd be concerned about that, because again, think about those kids that are not going on to post-secondary school for financial reasons or, medical reasons or whatever else. I'm very proud of the schools that people have gotten into, my former students as well, but I just think that we have to be cautionary there, and also think about the legal ramifications for putting a child's name out there. You approve the Viking Saga, which is, stays in-house. I don't think that's something that's published outside, so just.
No, it's online.
It's online.
It's online.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just-
No, but it's a public document.
It's not in the
Yeah,
newspaper.
we need to think about that, especially in this day of confidentiality.
We could do it without the
Thank you.
name.
That's a good point.
Good. Okay. I'm concerned about publishing the names of the
Shut up. I've
colleges.
adjusted everything I could adjust.
Okay, with that, we'll take a brief recess so we can come back to go into executive session for the purpose